What you are about to see now is not just a small ABAP project. This project is over 5,000 lines of ABAP code. And here is the deal. After this demo, I will break down exactly what the project is about, the architecture, and why I designed it this way. So this project is also for beginners who wants to learn everything about ABAP. And this is an e-commerce returns management system. But first, if you want me to keep building projects like this and sharing full workflow, please subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and share with someone who wants to learn ABAP programming. And of course, please drop a comment in the comment section. What do you think about this project? And if you also need the workflow, I'll also be willing to share it with you. Leave a comment in the comment section. But I must warn you, you have to be very diligent in order to follow my guide and replicate this project. So if I get up to 500 subscribers, I'm going to continue the step-by-step explanation of this project. So what is this system all about? So this is an e-commerce returns management system for fashion businesses. And the idea is that if you have worked with fashion e-commerce, you already know returns can happen a lot of the time, especially in Europe. So customers have the opportunity to return goods that they are not satisfied with. So this system handles full return lifecycle, customers creating a return request from an order, and then there's tracking return reasons and also analyzing them. The system, you also be able to track the reasons for the returns, analyze them, quality inspection workflow, and then inventory decisions either to restock, dispose, or to block stock. And then you also have the analytics, KPIs, and reporting. This is not just a report program, this is a full ABAP object-oriented business application. So in this project, you also learn object-oriented ABAP, and also we'll be programming we'll be using the Eclipse editor. So, and inside the Eclipse editor, you can also use the SAP GUI logon. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. So let me quickly run you through a short demo. So I'll open Eclipse. So right here, I have my package. So these are the programs. So the first program will be to create a return request. So if I double click on this, and this is the report that has been created. Now this is Eclipse. We cannot see the output of a report on the console. So we can just say open with SAP GUI. All right. So when you open with SAP GUI and you have already connected your project, you'll be able to see this SAP GUI logon screen. All right. So then we can execute this. So when you execute this, you see this create return request screen. All right. So if it's too tiny for you, you can as well open your SAP GUI logon screen. Yeah. So I can as well open it right here. So there, return create. So let's execute this, direct processing. So the first thing is that we're going to execute the return request. All right, so the user wants to return some goods. And right here we have the order ID. So the user should enter the order ID. So I can just give an example here. So this order number 00004. Then the customer must have a customer ID. So you can enter the customer ID. That's the 4. All right, this channel WB, and then you can enter the article number. So how many items you want to return, you can enter 2 items at once, okay, or you can just enter 1. So let's say I will enter here article ID, let me give it 5. Let's leave this variant for now. I'm going to explain later. And then the reason code, remember that the return reasons. So if you have 01, it means that the size of the items were too small. And if the user enters or the customer enters 02, size too large, 03, about color differs from image, 04, defective or damaged, 05, wrong item received, 06, customer changed their mind. So you can enter any of this code for the reasons, okay? So we can enter 04 for defective or damaged product. So right here we can say item is damaged. All right. So article 2, the second article that I want to create, let's give it material ID 06 leave variant for now. The quantity, how many quantity? Maybe let's keep 2 here. And then quantity here is 3. The reason that we are going to give here for the second article, we can say 05, and you can leave a comment. Wrong item was received. Okay. All right. So now where should it be returned? Where should the refund be returned to? You can choose here, credit original payments, or get a voucher, or bank transfer. So let's use credit original payment for now. Then after that, you click on execute or F8. So now we get this output here. Create return requests. Return request created successfully. Return ID. So return IDs were generated for us. Take note of the number RT260225503, then the order ID, the customer ID. Then we have a return date. So we have the status here, 01 means return. Then another status would be received, approved, and refunded. So here we have 01. And then here refund method, CR. Credit to original payment method. So these were the 2 article numbers that we created. So items in return, we have 05 and 06. So look at the quantity right here, 2 and 3, and then this the reason, 04 and 05. These are all coded. And so because these items already have the original amount, the calculation for the refund has been done. So the expected refund is 290.65 euros. All right. So this is the first stage of the workflow where the customer creates a return request. So I can just open another new screen. So after we create the return, the next process will be the return process. All right. So we need to run this program return process. So we need to process the return that the customer has initiated. So let's execute this. So here you see the screen for that. Process return request. You receive it, you inspect it, and then you approve it. All right. So now this is how it flows. So you can even view what has been received based on the date. So you can select date range here. So let me select February 23rd to 25th. Okay, so warehouse 01. You can decide to also filter by status, but let's keep that out for now. So you can click on this, execute F8 to see all the orders, the return requests that have been created. So right here you get an ALV report. The return ID was this. So let's go back to the screen to confirm the return ID that was generated. So this is the return ID 503 and customer 04. Okay, 503. So this one and customer 04. So this is the request that was created. And then we have the items to look at the status. The status is in requested. Now that we have received it, we need to click on this process. All right. So that's why we need to check this. Click on receive and then check this box. So if we put the date 24th to 25th and then click on execute, you see right here processed, 2 success, 0 errors. So now if you check the receive table, see that it's empty. So whatever we have received has now been moved into the inspection table. So when you click on inspect and you execute this, you get those 2 return requests that were already there. Okay, so now after you have inspected the items, you say okay, now we need to actually refund to the customer. You can click on this process again and execute. So what this will do is it will move the items from inspect to approve, ready for approval. So right here you see processed, 2 success, 0 errors. So if you now want to check inspect table, is to now be empty because you have already inspected those items and you have moved them for approval. So in the approve, let's view approve. Here you can execute here and you see that the status is what? Inspected items to the refund. This is the amount that has been created for the refund. Okay, so we are in what? Approval stage. So if we go back To approve, just click on process, because we have, assuming you have checked the items, then when you click on execute, they'll move from approved to be ready for to process the refund. So processed to success, 0 errors. So if you check approve again, it should be empty now. So here is now empty. The next, we need to process the refund. If we check process refund, you see that the status has been approved. So the status has been approved. So this is basically the workflow of the system. So you see from creating the order to receive, to inspect, to approve, and then to processing the refund. So the status is now approved, and this is the amount. So we can go to the returns dashboard. Let's open another screen. So if we open the return dashboard, we'll click on this and let's execute this. So here, if you click on this, it adds additional detail, but let's view this first. So now here you get the returns management dashboard, returns management dashboard, returns today. So this is today's snapshot. So how many has been returned? How many did we do today? This one. Pending approval 0, pending refund 10. So total returns 10, total refunds is the amount, because I already made some refund earlier while testing the system. Top return reason, size too small. And so when you click on this P detail, you get additional details to the management dashboard. You could see size too small, number of times, or the count is 7, size too large, 4, defective or damaged, 4, wrong item received, 1, and this way are the amount. Okay, so this UI is not the best formatting, but yeah, I want to take this project up higher by making an SAP UI5 program to give a better dashboard information, all right, or KPIs. So this is the workflow of the project, returns management system, and of course we can extend it further. So if you like this project and you want me to go further explaining this line of code, of course I will do it. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and let me know what you think. So upcoming videos, we are going to be starting with the flow. So you can see right here that this is the flow of execution, or how we're going to create a program. First, you create the tables. Second, you create interfaces. Third, you create the classes. And then finally, you create the program. So OData UI5 is coming later, and I can also demo this. Okay, so if you are interested in me sharing with you this workflow, you can as well leave a comment, but I must warn you that you have to be dedicated and diligent to follow the workflow. I created this, so you have to be diligent, because not everything worked the first time, so you're going to get errors and you have to find your way through it. And so it's very easy to follow. It's pretty much easy to follow. For instance, if you see table 1, we have the steps to create the database table, which I will also do this for you to see at some point. So prerequisites, how to create. You need to create data element first. All right. So in the beginning, to avoid stepping on toes, you can use built-in data elements and then use the transaction code. If you are using Eclipse, you can easily create these things. I can show you also how to create with Eclipse, and also how to create with SAP GUI. And likewise, data elements, the names of data elements that you can even use is given here. All right. So sometimes you already have these data elements existing in your system, and then you have to change it. So that's where the first issue starts coming from. So if you are just looking for to copy and paste, it might not work, because if a user has already used this data element in your system, then you will not be able to use this same one. You have to rename it somehow. And yeah, so after creating data element, you can also create data element for the status. All right. So the first initial stage is just to create data element, and then you can as well create tables. The next stage is actually to create the tables. So we first create the table that will store the return request. We create the header for that table. We can use Eclipse and we can use SAP GUI likewise. And you create the second table, return line items table. Yeah, so we also create the return reason table, master table, the table that will store the reasons for the return. All right. And yeah, so that's the first step. The first step is to create the tables, data element, and yeah. So then the second step is to create the interfaces. All right. So you go to SC24, you create the interface, you create structures, the methods. For instance, to calculate the refund, instance method, the description for the methods, all right? And then you also get valid refunds method. So you know what an interface is, right? So an interface is more like a contract where each class can implement. Then we have classes that we need to create. We create error classes that will handle the errors that we get. And then we have the base class, which will be for the return item. And the base class will have access to these interfaces, inspectable and restockable. All right. Yeah. So, and like that, you see the procedure to complete the application. And then the final stage is to create the programs. All right. So after creating all tables, interfaces, and classes, you can optionally create a message class. So this message class will handle the error messages. Then we can create a program like illustrated, a program that will allow the customer to create a return request. The source code is already in this location, return creator program.abap. So if you are following the workflow, then what you need to do is when you get to this point, you go to source, and since you are looking for programs, you go to programs. You are looking for return_create. So return_create is this one, and here is the source code for the create. You have selection screen, initialization, and so on and so forth. Okay, for instance, this has up to 185 lines for this program, and that was why I said this program, this project is over 5,000 lines of code. So just the create request program has close to 200. All right. So, and then after creating the programs, you then test the program. So this is how far I'll go with the demo for this project. Of course, if you are very interested in seeing me program this from the very beginning, of course, let me know in the comment section. And if you're also interested in getting the project flow and then write it out yourself, good for you, go for it. I would recommend that. So you break things and then you learn things better. Thank you. If you are new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Encourage me so I can make more videos like this and share to someone. So you can easily connect your SAP GUI to your Eclipse. Just go to File, click on New, click on ABAP Project. And then right here, you can just say define a new system. When you click on this new system, you enter the details for your GUI system. And then if you want to open in a class or an object, you want to view it in Eclipse, you want to view it in the SAP GUI, just right click here. You can say open with and then click on SAP GUI. So this is how we're going to be doing it. And so a quick tour of the architecture. So let me show you. If I open Visual Studio Code, we have the project structure here, this e-commerce returns management system. So this is a comprehensive ABAP object-oriented based returns management system that is designed for fashion e-commerce companies. And this project is going to demonstrate real-world ABAP development patterns and best practices. And of course, like I explained, the business context is that because the return rates can reach 30 to 50%, okay, this system will handle customer return requests, okay. It will also return the reason tracking and analysis. So we're going to, track the reason for the returns, quality inspection workflow, and then the refund processing. Also inventory restocking and decisions. There'll also be like a dashboard for analytics and KPIs. So a quick tour of the architecture. First, we have the database layer. So we are going to create tables for return request header, return items, return reason, master data, so inspection result, refund log, and status history. So there'll be a table to store the reasons, master data. There'll also be a table to store inspection results. There'll also be a table to store the refund log, and there'll also be a table to store the status history. So these are database layer. The next architecture is the interfaces layer. So if you don't know anything about interface in object-oriented ABAP, or you already have an idea of what it is, so right here, you're going to see how it is being implemented in a real project. So we'll use interface to force clean design and separation of consents. Okay, so there will be a refundable contract for refund logic, so interfaces can be used by different classes, and inspectable interface for inspection workflow. There will also be interfaces for restockable, trackable, and then notifiable for notifications. So if I open the Visual Studio Code once more, you can see this is the project structure. Right here we're going to create these database tables. So this is how the table is going to look like. Table definitions, return request header, and then you have the interfaces that we're going to create, interface definitions. So we're going to have interface for refund processing contract, interface for inspection workflow, interface for the restock decisions, interface for status tracking, and also interface for notification. And then if we're going to talk about the classes, business classes, we're going to have return request class. Okay, so this is going to be the main class. So there will also be return item based class. There will also be specialized return items like clothing and then footwear, inspection class, refund processor, refund strategies like credit and voucher, stock handler, factory class to create objects. Okay, so factory setting, and then analytics class for KPIs and insights. Yeah, so this is how our class structure is going to look like. We're going to create these classes. So this is the main return class, the base return class, clothing return, footwear returns class. So maybe these are classes that will control anything that has to do with clothings, footwears, quality inspection class, then credit refund class, voucher refund, inventory updates, then this return factory patterns. We're going to see this pattern in use, then the return analytics. Alright, the project structure still continues. We're going to create some exception classes, and then we're going to have these programs, create programs, a program that the user can create return request. Then in the warehouse, there will be a user that will process the returns, and then there will also be an ALV dashboard to see analytics, to see the return dashboard rather, to show the analytics for the return. And then there will also be return analytics, which provides the analytics report. So basically our architecture is this way. The first one is that the user can create a return. There'll be a program where the user will initiate the returns, then process the returns in the warehouse. There will also be an ALV dashboard to show details for the returns. There will also be another dashboard for analytics reports. And so this project is layered, modular, and then designed to scale. Okay. Yeah. And the key features of this project is actually number one, object-oriented design. So we're going to create clean class hierarchy with inheritance, interface-based contracts, factory pattern for object creation, strategy pattern for refund methods. So these are design patterns that we'll be using. And then the return workflow states from requested to received. So the return is requested to received, inspected, approved or rejected, and then refunded, restocked or disposed as the case may be. And here we see the code for the return reasons. So the user can enter 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06 for this particular reason. So if it's size too small, user will enter 01. If it's size too large, user will enter 02. All right. And then for the refund methods, there are different ways the customer can pay, either to credit to original payment method. So customer can use different payment method, PayPal, bank account, credit card, or the refund could be in form of voucher or gift card, or it could be in form of a bank transfer. All right. Okay. So, and the development phases is quite simple. So we start from the very basics. Phase 1, which is the foundation. We create database table definitions. So the table that we defined here, we are going to create them. That's the first stage of this application. All right. And then the second thing, or the second phase, is the business logic. So we're going to write business logic for return validation rules, refund calculations, inspection workflow, and the restock decision logic. So return validation rules will check, refund calculation will calculate the refund, inspection workflow will inspect if the goods will be kept in will be restocked or will be disposed. All right. And then in the phase 3, we create user interfaces. And so we create return creation screen. So this is where the user will enter details about the order that he or she is going to return. And then we also have processing screen for the company to process the return that the user has initiated. And then we're also going to have an ALV dashboard that will display details for these processes. In the phase 4, we also have analytics. So we'll see the return rate report, we'll see the reason analysis, and then we'll have a KPI dashboard. All right. So also in the workflow, how to implement this step by step is also given in the README section. So we can start by creating the tables, then we go on to create the interfaces, then we go on to create all the classes, and then we go on to create programs and transactions. So in the next videos or subsequent videos after this, I want to take it a bit higher into the modern framework where we'll have CDS view, OData services, and then a UI5 application for this. All right. See you in the next video.